And we are live.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the first IRMS Public Sector Group event of 2022. I'm going to hand over to Scott, our speaker, in just a moment, but there is some just a little bit of housekeeping that I would like to do. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Elizabeth Barber and I chair IRMS Public Sector. And just one or two little housekeeping things. Please, can you put all your questions either in the chat or the questions tab? Scott can see both, so he will answer questions as he goes along. Please feel free to use the chat function, but as always, if we can keep it healthy and constructive, please. And for those of you who may wish to inquire about a recording, we will be making a recording which will be on the IRMS YouTube channel, but it may take a few weeks for it to appear because we have volunteers who do the editing, and obviously we're dependent on how much spare time they've got to edit any one particular session. So with all of that, I'm now going to hand over to Scott Sammons, our speaker, to take us through the next hour. So over to you, Scott.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you very much for inviting me to be your first speaker of 2022. Is it an honour? Yes, it is an honour. Yes, very much so. Yes, thank you, Elizabeth. I really appreciate that. Hello, everyone. First thing for you all to make sure technology works. Can you all hear me okay? If you can, give me a yes, loud and clear in the little chat bit. Say yes, fine, lovely, jubbly, whoop-de-doo. Oh, look, marvellous. I've never had so many yeses in my life. Do I look amazing in this dress? Ha ha, yes. Look, there we go. See, look, Jane clarified it and said, yes, I can hear you, whereas I was just going to take the yes and run it for everything. Do I look good in this dress? Yes, yes, I do. Paul even gave me a little thing there. So my name is Scott Sammons. Welcome to this session on the power of three. For those of you that attended our session last year before, oh God, time flies. I think it was last year where we talked about what is the power of three, what is this thing, Sammons, and how did it work? Elizabeth asked me to revisit that because a few of you have been asking about it since then. So what I'm going to do is go back through what the power of three is, in my opinion, and also see if is it in trouble. Is the power of three waning because trouble is a brewing? So my name is Scott Sammons. For those of you that don't know who I am, you lucky things, you get to experience some of my terrible jokes all from you. Whereas those of you that have heard all the jokes before, sorry. Kind of sorry, not sorry. What is it the kids say today? Soz, not soz. That. So I've worked in the realm of IG for about 13 years now. I now am freelance as a freelance IG specialist, supporting a number of organizations, either as a remote DPO, project manager, general dog's body, well, anything and everything to do with the fun and exciting world of information and records management. That's me. What I want to, some clarification before we get started. First of all, we don't know what's going to happen yet. We don't know where the government is going to go with its proposed consultation on the Data Protection Act 2018/UK GDPR. Therefore, some of this is conjecture, yes. Some of this is fortune telling. A little bit of here's my crystal ball and this is what I think might happen. Very quirky, Jane. I like to be quirky. I'm quirky and of myself. Elizabeth just got to see how quirky and messy my office was just now. So a lot of things are now sitting that side of the wall, so you can't see them. Oh, a magician should never reveal his secrets. Oh, well, never mind. So a lot of this is conjecture. I'm also not going to sell or condone any particular products. So I'm going to be talking about information asset management. We're going to be talking about links between the two and various products. I'm going to be asking you what you use and what you guys recommend. but I personally won't be pushing any particular products, services, or other. I just want to have a play around with the idea of the power of three, come up with some ideas, and perhaps even motivate us all to fight for what is, in my opinion, or not, as the case may be, something that is incredibly useful to all of us. So therefore, the majority of this is my personal opinion. It's not necessarily the opinion of the society. It's not necessarily the opinion of anyone else. These are my opinions. And I would strongly encourage you to get your own. These are mine. Get yours. So what I want to explore is, what is the power of three? What is this thing? So we're going to go back over what it is, what I think it is, and how the three things, records of processing activities under Article 30 of the GDPR, your information asset registers, and your retention schedules, what are they? What is the point of them? What purpose do they serve? What value do they have? Why are we not maximizing the power that they have? Why does the government think that ROPA and what we do is bureaucratic red tape? So why is it heading that way? Where the government says that Article 30 is red tape in its opinion, to that I say tosh. Tosh, tosh, and more tosh. So we're going to explore some of that. So I want to throw around some ideas. I want to get people talking. I've got a poll for you. I've got some questions for you. I want to get us riled up about ROPA. You never thought you'd see that on a training course, did you? Well, first of all, I want to confess something. I want to be totally honest with you. I have my doubts. So when I spoke to you about the records of processing last year, I came to you and said, ROPA is hard. Information asset management is hard. And we did a whole session on why we should be promoting it, methods of promoting it, methods of getting buy-in for your information asset registers, all sorts. We talked about culture, we talked about training, we talked about messaging, we talked about positive mental attitude. And I do stand by that. I really do. I'm firmly of the opinion, using this quote from President John F. Kennedy, that we choose, hang on, let me put a presidential voice on. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard, because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win, and the others too. That was very Winston Churchill, wasn't it? It wasn't very President John F. Kennedy. Precisely, Sonia. It sounds a lot like Churchill, but I can't do a Southern American accent, so I'm not even going to try. But picture a Southern American accent, and it's basically that. So I came to you and I said, we should be doing this. We should be motivated by this. We should go for it. But one of the things I didn't talk about, and this is where the wobble has come in, and this is something I want to explore this time. He was from Boston, wasn't he? Why did he sound Southern? Why did I think he was Southern? I've got no idea. Interesting. What's the why? Why do we do them? What is the point? One of the things that I've learned over the last few years is, as an IG officer, as a data protection officer, if I'm going to get someone to do something or say they should be doing something, I always start with the why. Why are we doing this? What value does it have? How does it help? How does it improve? So if the government's argument is that Article 30 adds no value to the protection of personal data and is just bureaucratic, is that true? I don't know. It made me think. It made me go back to what we were talking about last time around the power of three and reassess it. And that's what I want to do with you today. I want to re-explore the power of three, to go back to that why. Why are we doing it? What does it give us? How does this specifically help in the protection of personal data? It protects with other things as well, but because all the stuff that's going with GDPR, we'll focus in on that just for this session. So I want to re-explore that. But I wanted to let you know and be totally transparent with you. I'm a woman of doubt. So I'm not sure. So let's go back through it. Let's start with the basics. What is the power of three, as I like to call it? The power of three, in my opinion, is utilising ROPA, your records of processing activities that you're required to do under Article 30 of the GDPR, maximising and linking your retention schedule, and maximising and linking your information asset registers, as well as everything else. So in the session last time, we also explored about marrying up risks, contracts, controls, like your risk register, your contract register, your controls register, various other bits and pieces like that. But the power of six doesn't really work, whereas you kind of know the power of three. So we call it the power of three because they're the big main ones. Just linking the three together, or linking them all together, so that rather than having this big chunk of data there, this big chunk of data there, and this big chunk of data there, having them talk to one another, because they are all very similar. They all talk about the same thing. They're all trying to achieve the same thing, or thereabouts. And they're all talking about similar fields. So ROPA, for example, your records of processing activities, that asks you to map out, what are you doing? When are you going to be doing it? Where are you doing it? What are you collecting in? Why are you collecting it in? How are you collecting it in? How are you managing it? How long are you storing it for? Etc. Yes, it only focuses on personal data, whereas the other two don't. They focus on everything else. But it was nonetheless the biggest thing that put the other two on the radar. But does ROPA, your record of processing activities, actually help you achieve certain things? So if you haven't done your ROPA, for example, you don't know where stuff is, you don't know the full scale of what it is that you've got, where it's going, what third parties you've got, where it's going in the world. I've got many. I think when Privacy Shield came crashing down, a number of public authorities said, "Oh, we don't have international transfers to America." Are you sure? And only by doing this sort of piece of work, suddenly all these things started to come out of the woodwork and say, well, actually, no, you do in a number of areas. Can you say with 100% value you do that? No. Mark says, adding value, I'd say ROPA is a long-term investment. I agree. It's a baby. It needs lots of care and attention. The value comes from getting a higher proportion of things right first time. You may not feel the benefit until ages later, when you avoid bother being suffered by comparable organizations. Yes, I get what you mean there, Mark. I would agree. Can you be transparent with individuals by doing it? No, you can't. You just can't. Transparency under GDPR requires you to be honest with people about what you're doing. People see it as am I going to get on my soapbox about this? No, I am. People see it as a legal notice. Therefore, it has to be written in legalese and relatively high level and all that other nonsense. No. Your privacy notices are designed to be your honest conversation with data subjects. And if you haven't done your records of processing, you don't know where this stuff is. Are you genuinely being honest with citizens about what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it? What's going to happen with their stuff? Would we be dishonest with people about how their service is going to work, what services they're going to receive, what their membership of their library is going to be like, how their arrest is going to work, all these things, how their treatment is going to work from a medical point of view? No, we wouldn't do those things. we would be open and honest with them about what their treatment is, how it's going to work with their court case, their this, their that, the other. So why do we not do that with data? Why is that not a thing? But we have to, with ROPA, we have to do it in order to be transparent. Otherwise, I can't tell you what I've got. I can't be open and honest and transparent with you because I've just got no idea where it is. I can't do that. Penny says, privacy team did ROPA. We are encouraging countries to do a baseline records survey so they know what they have and manage what they have. Brilliant. Marvellous. I'd agree with that. Carly says, for us, the difficulty comes in how to structure it in terms of the organisation and to avoid duplication where teams interact, and changing ours into a function-based as opposed to team-based. Yes. Because often you will get people do it teams-based or department-based, but actually sometimes it should be function-based. I would completely agree with that, Carly. Totally with you there. I'm with you. Like it. Bren's going to be controversial. Not sure the ICO template is the best structure, focusing on detail at data element level. I think ROPA combines process and constitute asset data. I would agree. The ICO's template is a lot. There is a lot there. And a lot of it goes way beyond what Article 30 requires. So getting bogged down in the ICO's template is probably not a good idea. I would agree with that. Kevin says the more you do, the better you get. Paul says, starting to see the existence of ROPA IR as an assessment criteria for detailed cyber assurance security assessments. Oh, interesting. Because where some cyber insurance providers are pulling out, some are actually saying, no, but I want to know what it is I'm insuring. I want to know what it is that you've got. What are you doing that I am insuring? Oh, I like that. Can you, if you've not done your records of processing, can you scale your compliance program? Can you say what is a concern for you and what isn't? Because there will be bits of the GDPR that are minor problems for you. There will be bits that will be big problems for you. But the only way of determining that is to know what you've got, what you're using it for, who your third parties are. The same argument about America. Do you have any international transfers? What third parties have you got? What risks have you got? So if ROPA was to be removed and GDPR scaled down to a more privacy management program, which is what they're talking about at the moment, which we'll explore a little bit more in a little bit later on, can you really run an effective privacy management program doing the basics of even just scaling the program, determining risks, determining third parties, determining international transfers, or being transparent with individuals without doing something like ROPA? Maybe. Because an information asset management piece of work will determine your assets, and a retention piece of work will determine what records you need to keep and why, and what's important to you. So does ROPA give you everything that these other things don't give you? I can't say that with 100% certainty, no. There are some additional stuff, yes, around grounds for processing. Yes, ROPA does and has required us to go further in that regard. But with some minor edits to IARs, and I've seen them, with some minor edits to IAR templates and registers, could the IAR pick that up instead? I don't know. Something to mull over, definitely. Same thing with your information assets. They do the same thing. They do what, when, how, why, what are we using it for? What purpose does it serve? Sometimes it's often purpose-driven. Ideally, it should be more than team or department. Coming back to Carly's point, it should be what asset does it serve rather than that's this department's asset or that department's asset, because it could solve multiple departments. So that collects the what, the when, the how, the why, the where. Does it really collect anything more than ROPA does? Yes, it covers more than personal data. Yes, that is true. But does it do both? Lorna says IARs covers the same of what ROPA does. So is there duplication there? This is why when we talked about it the first time around, we said join them up, because there's lots of duplication there. So can we try and link one points to the other, which points to the other? So if I change one or update one, I'm not constantly having to do one and the other. Caroline says the same thing. By design, the IAR and ROPA are one and the same thing. Yes, I like that. Sean says we are currently working on IAR trying to incorporate the ROPA. The challenge I have is balancing the granular detail of ROPA to the oversight of an IAR as a management tool. Yes, because it needs to be a balance. Sue does an IAR but no ROPA. I'm going to assume, Sue, that's because you've incorporated the elements of ROPA into your IAR. So you call it an asset register, but it effectively, by what it captures, also is a ROPA. Indeed, yes. Aha. So some people do it that one way. Some people do it that way. Some people have it separately. It seems to be a mixed bag. Mark says we have a well-maintained IAR and an outdated ROPA. My ambition. So even Mark's going down the route of subsuming ROPA into the IAR. Jane's asked for a ROPA template from Reynolds, so we'll skip over that one. You can have an asset which contains the outputs of multiple processing. Yes. So, Alison, do I want to ask you this question? This is quite a profound question. Does that make it one asset or multiple assets? Because it's multiple records. I think we should have that conversation over a coffee or a tea. That sounds like a mug of tea and a proper flesh that out sort of question. So what we pitched in the original 3, Carol says we have none of the 3 at the moment, but I intend to cover them all in the same thing. Feels like a bit of a luxury, but with all the work to do. I agree, Carol. So the power of 3 was born out of my work at Essex County Council when we were trying to build a system that did all 3. Actually, it tried to do all 6. Have your information asset registers, your records of processing, your retention schedules, but also was something that we could link to contracts, we could link to risks, and we could link to incidents. So that when an incident occurred, we could flag it against particular things. And that's kind of what the ICO's template was trying to do, but it's Excel. And we all know Excel is limited in what it can do in that regard. So they were reaching a little bit too far with trying to get someone to do it on Excel, whereas we were trying to design an internal system that did it. Excel does indeed make it difficult, Lorna. It's good. I love Excel, but Carla says the ROPA I helped put together in a previous job was based on data flows, where it's coming from, where it's going to. Yes. Where I work now is tried to blend it with an IAR, and I can't say that it works better than the data flow approach. Interesting, Carla. Kevin says there's an interesting business capability model in universities. Mapping IAR to processes might be nice. I think it's hard to capture just how many processes exist. Yes, it is. Catherine uses the OneTrust system, which is, it's all right. I've played around with it. I've got a couple of clients that use it. It's not bad. I wouldn't say it makes me excited first thing in the morning, but it's all right. Does the job. Carol says, can you have a data sharing that doesn't touch a particular asset? Therefore, focusing on the IAR as a backbone will need other means to record data sharing activities that are not asset originating. Do you share, send or receive data that will never touch an asset? Is that possible? I don't think it is. Because even if you strip out personal data for a minute and just assume it's not personal data, it's got to come from somewhere and it's got to go to somewhere. So if it's coming from you to someone else, it's got to come from an asset. And if it's going to you from someone else, it's got to go to an asset. That's a very good question, Carol. I'm trying to think of an example where a data sharing wouldn't go anywhere near an asset at all. I don't think there is one. It's got to come from somewhere. Good one. I shall ponder on that one. Ren says, I like to advocate an overall information assurance register that blends retention policies, business classification schemes, process level IT data, with governance history such as DPAs, with the reporting, ROPA, ISO evidence, NHS toolkit on demand from relevant bits. Yeah, I agree with that. It is essentially the power of three, bringing all these things together into one that can then work, tracking what our reasons are, etc. Decommissioning of assets, linking when something doesn't win is then decommissioned, linking updates, linking risks, DPIAs, all this sort of stuff into one. So it sounds like I'm talking myself out of Article 30. Because we've already heard that other people are blending ROPA into other things. We're looking at an IAR, whether that's an information assurance register or an information asset register. It sounds like I'm talking myself out of it. And maybe I am. Maybe after exploring what everyone does, how they go about it, the fact that since GDPR came in 2018, and even when we started work before then, so technically 2016, that people have got to a level now where actually they're going, why are we duplicating this? Why can't we just blend them into one so that it makes more sense as one? So we've already said that some people are using systems to help them out. Kevin, jumped into the gun there. I'm going to come to that. Kevin says, elephant in the room, the audience cares about their stuff because we're geeks, but does everyone else? Haha, I'm going to come to that because that's one of the biggest reasons why the government's coming for it. What was my question going to be? Yes. What systems do you then use? We've talked about some already. Some people do use a system to help them manage these three elements, your retention schedules, your information asset registers, your records of processing. We've got some systems that we've mentioned around already. Do some people do it via Excel and the fun, exciting stuff that is Excel? So we've mentioned OneTrust. Does anyone else use OneTrust? Does anyone else use other systems? Carl's pitched it or framed it as ROPA is a capability you need, not necessarily a thing you need. I like that, Carl. I'm going to park that and come back to that. David says we use OneTrust for the ROPA and sort of the IR as well. Penny says British Council uses OneTrust. Mark says they use OneTrust, but it's not done very well. Michelle uses the informed users system. Rachel says Excel. Yeah, school business managers do love Excel. Bless them. If they can do everything in Excel, they probably would. If they could get married in Excel, they probably would. Sandra uses a SharePoint list. SharePoint. Okay. I like SharePoint lists. They have a lot more functionality than what Excel does, but it's still fundamentally built on the technology of Excel. So, Caroline says, ours is a custom application in SharePoint and Power Apps. Andrew is moving in Excel currently, moving to ServiceNow. Okay. Nikki Hargreaves says, we use SharePoint list for the retention schedule and Excel for the IR and ROPA. Okay, makes sense, yeah. And is it easy, Nikki, to marry the two together or link the two together, or is it a bit of a manual job? if you, for example, make a change to a retention period, is it easy to map across to IR and ROPA and vice versa, or is it a bit of a mission? Very manual and a bit of a nightmare. Thought it might be. I was hoping you'd say, no, we've got this. Never mind. Alex says we use SharePoint as a hub, which pulls everything together. It is very good for that, hence the word SharePoint. Lorna says, unfortunately, we have Excel for everything. But looking at other ways to ensure linkages and reduce multiple spreadsheet management. Oh, multiple spreadsheet management. Oh, that's a dirty, sexy word, Lorna. Multiple spreadsheet management. Oh, yeah, I'm weird and don't get out much. Yeah, you're true. Yeah. Power BI to report on SharePoint, says Kevin. Schools use composite doc to cover all elements. Oh, okay. Sue says, is there a good registry system out there? Ours is an access database and is falling over. There are some good ones, Sue. You've seen some ones up and down here. Depends what you want. One of the things I'd encourage people to do, and this is where you can use the public sector groups chat forum area on YM or the online website, the RMS website, is ask people, what are they using? What do people do this? Would they mind showing it to me so I can have a look and play around with it and see if it's something that would work for them? I know quite a few people post stuff on the back end about that, and it's quite useful. People then respond and say, yeah, drop me a note, do this, do that. It's quite good. Menyon says, currently using Excel, moving to Samaki. Ooh, not that one. Ooh, right, okay. So there are different options. There's even a system called Flows, I think it is, that is more based on data flowing or data flows rather than individual assets, but does both. We looked at that. That was okay. Just required a lot of work. That was a very needy baby. So it looked quite funky, looked quite intuitive, but it was a very needy baby. So we weren't quite sure about that one. Definitely worth looking at, Lorna, but because it's flow based, like some of the other people that said they do it on flow based, it will require a lot of care and attention. Very insightful, very intuitive, very funky. It's got a funky little interface, but requires a bit of work. So brace yourself for that. Get in a lot of coffee, tea, whiskey, biscuits, pizza, whatever it is you want, because you're going to need it. So, what are some of the things, coming back to Kevin's question earlier on, what therefore are some of the things, if all this stuff sounds great, it helps us do this, it helps us do that, helps us do the other, why is no one doing it? Why is it like bashing our heads against a brick wall, and why is the government coming for it? We've already said, as Kevin alluded to, people don't see it as a priority. They don't see it as having much value. What other reasons in your organizations have you found that people don't engage with this? Don't see it as valuable? Fine. But what else? What other reasons do people not engage with you? So even if you get them sold on the value point, what else stops them? Laborious, says Paul and Kelly. Yes. Time commitment is huge. Complex, says Angela. Yep. Kelly's gone boring. Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. It's not sexy work, not by a stretch of the imagination, not by a long way. But yeah, that is a concern. Valuable. See the value in it. Do I want to do it? No. Is it fun and exciting? No. Not by any stretch of the imagination. Capacity, says Rachel. So I'm told yeah, I agree with you. It's a good idea. Am I going to do it before this side of term time? No. No. Carol says, someone started something once, but it never came to anything. So feel they're having to do the same all over again for no result. Yes, I see that a lot. Started it, didn't really go anywhere. Now someone else has started it, coming to have a look at it, got to do it all again. What about all that work I did before? Oh, yeah, I'd agree with that. Lack of clear corporate steer, no firm policy or procedure on it. No one wants to own it. Not my problem, Gov. I've got 1,000 things to do. Have day jobs. Need to understand the benefit. It's like painting the fourth bridge. Yep, we have the buy-in, but people tend to see it as a one-time task. Yeah, I did it once. It's like your annual cleaning. Did it once. Never doing that again. Alison, a very good point. For us, it's been a key element in recovery from our cyber attack. Yes, it is incredibly useful for that. Yes. Sean says, we don't show people how it will help them to do their jobs. It's just like we're making it difficult work for them. Yes. Sheer scale of processing. We're a big complex beast. Yep. We are third behind subject development. We are third behind cybersecurity and privacy in our own department. Ah, right, okay. It's only important when you have breach or the ICO decide to audit your organization, not important otherwise. Yep, I see people are seeing that, especially when the ICO wasn't asking for it. Everyone went, hang on a minute, why have I done all this for them? What was the point if the regulator's not even going to bother checking it? Except in the Isle of Man. The Isle of Man commissioner has been checking them, very much so, and has written to all the government departments to say, I want to see them, whereas our information commissioner hasn't. But then, this is naughty, but our information commissioner isn't exactly doing a good job at the moment, so we'll just add that to the list. But that's a separate issue. Lorna says, we're looking to try and link it closely to our corporate risk management process. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone has done this. Oh, we tried doing that, Lorna, just before I left Essex County Council, and now it's been abandoned, and I'm having an argument with them over FOI about it. But we tried that, but it didn't get anywhere. So I'd be interested to know if someone did that as well, because that would be incredibly useful. Actually linking it into your corporate risk management process. It should happen anyway. I'm a firm believer that should happen. But if anyone else has managed to do that, that's definitely another element of the power of three. I would agree with that. Ren's given a link there saying, exciting things to do, information asset register updated. Oh, right. I'm going to click on that because I like fun, exciting things to do. IRMS risk register, business continuity arrangements. Oh, yes, Carol, linking to business continuity. That's a good one. Yes, definitely. I have conversations with some of my clients' business continuity arrangements. Say, well, you've already highlighted what was important. You did that in your ROPA or even in your information asset registers. Why are you doing it again in your business continuity threat assessments or others when you've already done it? Ooh. Time, value, scale, buy-in, all these sorts of things make it a challenge. So I can sort of see why, that way, I can sort of see why there is an apathy problem. I can see why staff don't feel like it's any good. I can see why staff get annoyed that they've done it once, they've now got to do it again, because it tried getting off the ground once and then didn't get off the ground again. I can see why it's a different priority, because I've got 1,001 different things to do, and this is way down the list of them. And I can see why, with a name like records of processing activities, it has a bit of an image problem for being seen as bureaucratic red tape. I get it. I understand it. And as a few people have said in the chat as well, this is not sexy, not by a long way. So now that we've talked ourselves out of doing it and said, do you know what? Probably not going to happen. So what? Because the new data and new direction consultation is proposing to remove it. Is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? Because I've come to the same sort of positions that we're all in now and gone, I've asked myself this fundamental question. What's the point? What's the point? Why? If we're doing all this work So we've highlighted some things here. So, for example, Paul says an information asset register is a fundamental part of ISO 27001. Yes. What's the point? What are we trying to achieve? How does specifically Article 30, records of processing activities, how does that as a control measure help in the protection of personal data? How does it help us maintain confidentiality? How does it help us maintain integrity of data? Does it? Does ROPA in any way help us protect the integrity of personal data? Does it also help in the protection of availability of personal data? Does it do these three things? If so, how? How does it do that? Ask yourself the question right now. How does your records of processing activities, or even a ROPA in an ideal world, how does that help us specifically protect confidentiality, integrity, or availability of personal data? Sean says, only if people are looking at it once it's in place. So yeah, once it's finished, it does. But how, Sean? How does it do that? It gives us all this stuff about what we're doing. Yes, but so does an asset register. So specifically, how does ROPA help us do that? Sue says no, it raises awareness. So you think about these things. Aha, so it's a means to an end. Okay, that's a fair comment. Yes, it does. It has put these things on the map. It has brought skeletons out of the closet. Yes, that is very true. So that is a very good point, Sue. It doesn't directly, but it does put things on the agenda. Yes, it does. So does an information asset audit. So does an audit. So why does this? Rachel says, has helped me help schools by identifying where data is being kept somewhere it shouldn't, because often where they think it is isn't necessarily where it actually is. That's a very good point, Rachel. It is very good for getting people to actually look at what it is they've got and know where it is. Yes. Angela says it protects by flagging issues and problems with processes, which are then addressed. Yes. Paul says we have found that ROPA needs to be mapped to both policies and risk to assess gaps and address them. Yes, it can be useful for that. Yeah. Carol says, you know what data you have and where it is, including third-party arrangements. We have had third-party breaches and we're able to quickly identify the data involved from our perspective and the potential impact of the breach. Surely that's good contract management, Carol. I'm being facetious here, by the way. I'm going to play devil's advocate for all of them. So I totally agree with you, Carol. But surely that's just good contract management, is it not? Alison says, to me, the ROPA is the distillation of the DPAs we've carried out. The core work to protect personal data is carried out and recorded in the DPAs. Aha. So a DPA, hang on a minute, ROPA is where a DPA goes to live and breathe. Oh, there's a visualization. It's a playpen for my DPAs. Oh, I kind of like that. I just have this image of a little playpen with loads of little DPAs running around, free as a bird. Yep. Carol says, oh no, Rachel says, Carol, same. You know what data you have it is, where it is. Yep, I agree. But does ROPA do that? Does ROPA itself, you as a data controller or processor, keeping a record of your processing activities separate to an information asset register or your obligations under ISO 27000 or 27001 or any information asset management program you've got, does keeping a record of processing activities a legal requirement under Article 30? How does that help protect confidentiality, integrity, or availability? Sean says, we've recently created a system information asset register, which has informed privacy notices, yes, international transfers, and will help respond to breach investigations. Yes, Sean, I like that. But that's not a ROPA now, is it? That's a glorified or a beefed up, there you go, that's the word, asset register. Rachel says, okay, we don't keep it separate. You merge it in as one. See what I mean? I've had quite profound, so I suffer with insomnia. So this was several of my evenings after the consultation was announced to actually ask the question, does records of processing Article 30 actually help us, data protection officers and the business, protect personal data? I couldn't come to an answer. I, like you, am split. I see lots of occasions where it does, and everything you've outlined there, I completely agree with. But I also see the other argument that, yeah, but that's in your information asset register. That's contract management. That's this, that's that, that's the other. How does ROPA in any way add in something unique, something specific, and something that benefits these three areas? I'm struggling. I don't want to be struggling. I had a little bit of a sad moment when I came to that realization of, oh. Caroline says, for me, it's the IAR which helps protect personal data, but integrating ROPA into the IAR has enhanced its capability. Penny says, it makes no difference to us if the UK government amends DPH. Oh, yeah, because you're Isle of Man. We are global and lots of operations in the EU, so European GDPR will always have it. Yes. So our benchmark will be the most strictest. So I agree with you, Penny. Keep it, interact with it. Lorna says, I agree with Caroline. People do this, supported by procedures, policies. ROPA is a tool, but other tools that are available can achieve the same. A really good and really effective information management regime, including us, will do so. So perhaps, because I appreciate we're running out of time, perhaps the future is that, go away, don't upgrade. The future instead is we're going to, where's my poll questions? There it is. Publish. There it is. I've put out a load of polls in the chat area. So have a look, complete some of them for me, vote for some of them for me and see what you think. I want to know what you think. Do we think ROPA adds value to the protection of personal data? Yes or no? Do we think ROPA should be scaled down in any new law? Yes or no? Is, in your opinion, your ROPA effective and useful in the protection of personal data? Yes or no? I want to know what you think. Do you think that it should be scaled down or converted into a let me just hang on. Can you see, question for you all, can you see the polls? Are they live? Can you vote on them? Yes, right, good. This has been weird. It's asking me to do it when I'm the one signed in. Fool. So do you think it adds value to the protection of personal data? Yes or no? Do you think ROPA should be scaled down, changed? So there's a general principle of managing your personal data, like an obligation to have an information asset management program, something like that. But a descriptive, it must be this, or something descriptive like Article 30. Is in your opinion, your ROPA effective and useful in the protection of personal data? Josephine's gone for a yes, it adds value. No, it shouldn't be watered down. Yes, hers is effective. Josephine's the way to go. Josephine's the way forward. So far, about 50 odd people have voted. So is your ROPA, in your opinion, effective and useful in the management of personal data? 54% have said yes, 46% have said no. Do you think ROPA should be scaled down in any new law? 53% have said no. 47% have said yes. And do you think ROPA adds value to the protection of personal data? 78% have said yes, while 22% have said no. Interesting. Very interesting. Now, we're not going to come to an answer for this here in this session, but one of the things I would encourage you to do is encourage best practice. How are everyone else doing it? So we've seen today that lots of people are doing it in various different ways, and we've seen people exchange details already. Carry that on. Various different ways you can doing it, the online IRMS forum, all that sort of stuff. Carry that on, because if we're going to sell this, we're going to make the case for it, we're going to champion it and make sure that it works and is effective. The best way is to learn from each other. What is everyone else doing? How did you do that? We're all in the same boat in that we're all got very little money. Therefore, can we try and use the resources we've got to be as clever, as streamlined, as, I'm going to say the word, I'm going to say it, as sexy as possible to sell this to the business and others? Can we encourage or call on some of our providers to innovate and say, we need solutions, we need help really maximizing this, but I don't want to have to sell my kidney in order to do it? Can I try and save some money here accordingly? So I don't have the answers, not by a long way. I'm one man just trying to find my way in the universe, like we all are. Well, women and other. But I would actively encourage you to have a real think. Really think about your IAR, your ROPA, every single control you put in place to manage records, manage personal data, all these sorts of things, to say, why? How does it help me manage personal data? Because if a war is coming, and I strongly suspect that a battle or the battleground for data protection in the UK, the lines have been drawn, then we need as much armory in place as possible. So work out what works, what doesn't, what is genuinely adding value to the protection of personal data, and what is something that is actually duplication. We could achieve that via some other way, a better way to get the job done. Jane says, are the slides going to be available? Yes, they are indeed. I'll make them available via the group. And that's everything I had. A little bit of revisiting what the power of 3 is. I'm still convinced in the power of 3. I'm still an advocate of the power of 3. I think the 3 things together, as we've seen here, are incredibly useful for managing our DP compliance programs and others. Very much so. I am sold on that point. Am I sold on the point that every single program or a separate ROPA adds value to our DP compliance program? I don't know. That's something I think we need to explore a little bit more, something that definitely we need to have conversations around, and something for us as a society, as a profession, to really get to the bottom of. Because I don't think I can look someone in the eye and say, that is a cast iron gold way of protecting personal data. I don't think I can say that. Sonia says, maybe the IAR can be the central source, so the one ring to rule them all. Sonia, I'm feeling a future topic or thingy discussion. One ring to rule them all. So rather than the power of 3 rings, we have one ring to rule them all. My little geeky debate. Oh, I like that, Sonia. My little geeky brain has gone into overdrive with that, Sonia. That's a very good idea. I like that. I like that. Sonia says, a debate. I like that. Retention schedule, to name one element, would simply be a report run off from the information assurance register, as Ren calls it. Yep, it could be these things exist in one ring to rule them all, one power to rule them all. Oh, I like that. I might suggest that to Elizabeth as a future topic of discussion. Definitely. Any last questions? I appreciate it's 13:56. We've got 4 minutes. Any questions, points? Or you could borrow some Patrick's analogy of the shamrock. I like that, Mark. Yeah. Paul says ROPAs and IRs are useful when you want to understand what content you have and who owns it, but mainly when examining traditional libraries having a formal taxonomy structure. Oh, yes. As we're moving towards storing information by content type in flat folder structures, searching via metadata, Google type searches, etc., the IRs and ROPAs seem less relevant. Ooh, Paul. I like that. Another profound point. Sean says, there has been little mention of retention schedules amongst ROPAs and IRs today. My fault, Sean. It turns out I've managed to delete one of my slides by mistake. So I then noticed it and started pulling it back towards a retention schedule. That was my fault, sorry. Our retention schedule is going to be subsumed by DP approaches. Maybe. I hope not, because they do more than just personal data, but I see the logic. I really do see the logic. Carol says, I'm going to use it to the idea of combining all three. Elizabeth says she's going to organise an additional event, so make sure she does. We need to find Elizabeth. I wonder if I could I play the devil and say no? We kind of need a divergence of panel members that are going to give 3 very different points of view or 2 very different points of view. So we might have a chat about who we could get on opposing sides. It's like those intelligence squares debates you see. Here's the proposition. Here's 2 people to argue for the motion. Here's 2 people to argue against the motion. Oh, I like that. Oh, geeky. Excellent. Andrea says, we're really sort of about to revisit our approach, how we can improve it and successfully link all 3 together, or have all feeding into a central IR. Good to hear you're not alone. Thank you, Andrea. Sean says, I like to keep the retention schedule, or to keep the schedule as it is, as an item to inform us what we should do and shouldn't do. Andrea says, combine them all. Combine them all. I have spoken. Much easier, or this is the way. There we go. Much easier to ask people to do one rather than do all 3. Oh, we could also be really wicked and use De Bono's thinking hats. Oh, there you go. I think we've got enough here to arrange, what could we call it? A debate on the keeping of ROPA. Oh, I like that. Well, that brings us to time. The time now is 1:59, so I'll hand you back over to Elizabeth. I've dropped my bombshell. Now I'm going to run away.
Thank you very much, Scott. We know that we will always come away from a session with you with plenty to think about. I will check the events diary and see where we can slot in an additional event as we are as I'm coming up the final straight with the program we'd already planned, but because we can use Livestorm, it's not a huge problem. I just need to find a date. So first of all, thank you very much to Scott for presenting to us and giving us a huge amount to think about. The next event will be after conference, obviously, because we're about to go into the period where we can't organise events before conference. I will be in the conference fringe from 3 to 5 on the first Sunday. Well, I say the first Sunday of conference, the first day of conference. So anyone who'd like to come and find me in the fringe, that would be brilliant. And hopefully we'll see as many of you at conference as we possibly can. And I will be publishing the programme in the next week or so, by the beginning of April in any case. So thank you very much, Scott. Thank you very much for attending, and I'll look forward to seeing you either at conference or in the or at the next event. So thank you, Scott. Scott's hosting today, so he's got the magic button to press to finish it off. And as I say, the recording may be a couple of weeks. It just depends on how quickly we can get it sorted out. So thank you very much, and have a pleasant afternoon, everyone.
Bye all. If I see you at conference, come say hello. I'll be more than happy to carry on this conversation or any of the other events that we've got coming up. I feel this could be very geeky. Awesome. Thank you all, and toodaloo.
Bye.
Let me press the big red button. I pressed the big red button now.